Welcome, Taurus, your May Moon Magic 1 month forecast for the ascendant, the sun, or the moon. May has 5 important lunations. 3 of those include the sun in your zodiac sign, but we also have 2 quarter moons, which get very little coverage, particularly on YouTube, but are highly influential. Also, at the heart of the month, we have a sparkling, exalted new moon in your sign in a brilliant conjunction to the epiphyseant vibe of Mercury. But also throughout this month, despite this lunar perspective, Mars, the planet of passion, is incredibly powerful. I'm going to unpack each of those lunations for you, Taurus. By the end of the video, you have a much clearer understanding of what May holds in store in terms of your energy, work, relationships, and finances. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundel. A very warm welcome. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, please do so now to help it to continue to thrive. But please also do click or tap the bell notification symbol. So on the screen is the event chart of that very intense Scorpio new moon as we came into the month on the 1st, based on universal, with the moon for you in your sector of relating. But if we think about it, the sun in your sign is very much about being single-minded. It's your part of the year to focus on what's truly important to you. Now, if that is a relationship, then that's maybe what's come up as we've come into the month. But if we look at the position of Pluto at the top of the chart, it does forge a T-square with the sun and also the moon. It's a little bit broad, but it's potent. And the key here is that each of the players, Pluto, the sun, and the moon, are all in fixed signs. So if you have been experiencing some kind of standoff or experiencing someone who's quite unyielding or stubborn, it wouldn't be a surprise. But if you are trying to do something very unique and you're passionate about it, should you stop focusing on that to please others? That's one question. Or if there is a relationship matter that's really at the heart of how you feel at the moment, are you focusing so much on that that you may be losing sight of your individual needs or even your professional ones? Now, on the 3rd of May, Mercury, the planet of communication, moves into your zodiac sign. And that's going to help you to cut through and decipher some of what that tension that may have been created was truly about. But if we look at the position of Mars, marooned in that 12th house of yours, Mars, of course, at home in the sign of Aries, is about action. But 12th house Mars positions are very tender and can see our emotions very up and down. So if an old issue did explode into the open on the back of that full moon, it wouldn't be a surprise. But it is in a square with Jupiter, the planet of passion and enthusiasm, through the first 10 days of this month. So if you are doing some deep research, taking soundings, thinking very carefully about your future direction, you can still make that square work for you in a very constructive way. Well, that brings us to the first of those 2 quarter moons. So we get 2 quarter moons each month. The moon in Aquarius sees your emotions quite close to the surface. The 10th house is your connection to the world at large. Pluto's complex because in some ways, over the coming years, he is going to change how you connect to the world or how people see you. But Pluto here can, in some ways, see us actually not want that public profile, but he will have an impact. The moon, however, can make it much more difficult to disguise how you feel. So if you are dealing with a tricky line manager, a colleague, a parent, even your kids, if you've got them, it may be that you're trying to juggle what you feel is right as an individual with what maybe is perceived by other people. However, Mars in that 12th house is still in touch in a very strong way with Jupiter. So if you do find yourself in the early part of this month needing to be very low key, but very intense and very hardworking in what you're doing, and you're not feeling that you're necessarily getting the visibility you want, just keep on going. However, that brings us to that amazing Taurus new moon in your sign on the 16th. Now you can see that Mercury, the planet of communication, has just come past the sun in a Cazimi. also at the heart of the month. And we also have Mars just about to arrive in your zodiac sign on the 18th, but in a conjunction with Chiron. So if there is something that you've been letting go of, getting a different perspective of, as Mars has been going through that tender 12th house, it can all make sense by this time. Also, if we look at the position of uh, Mars and Venus, they're in a perfect sextile. And that's not to be underestimated, because if you have been having those talks or thinking deeply about what to do, now you can start to see the financial rewards come through. But the new moon in our own sign, of course, is very much about setting our intentions, about those individual talents and flares. And if it is about a financial or business matter, Mercury will amplify your brilliance over the following month. Why? Because Mercury can be very shrewd in the sign of Taurus. It means that you can be very conscious of the detail of things, Mercury at its best, but also you can be very entrepreneurial too. So that is a lovely new moon, but it's also blessed, Taurus, by Jupiter. So whereas Jupiter and Mars in the early parts of this month do create a lot of enthusiasm, the key for us all will be not to overpromise. But I think you could have a significantly much better outcome in the second half of this month with this fabulous new moon and Jupiter being in the mix too. So that brings us now to the quarter moon in Virgo. So by now, on the 21st of May, the sun has moved out of your sign and into the quick-witted Gemini, and for the first time in around about 77 years is merging with Uranus, that electric, restless, provocative, disruptive influence, but for you can see lots of fresh and exciting ways of earning money over the next 7 years. Your values can also change quite radically too. Things that you've held dear for a long time, you can start to challenge. But this is actually a really tricky quarter moon. The moon is in the sign of Virgo, where it can be very practical and very precise. But for you, it's in the fifth house, which can be very demonstrative and affectionate. And with Uranus in the conjunction with the Sun in the second house, if there's someone you're getting to know that you really like, that could make you very, very open to being hugely generous. But that gift may not land as well as you would hope. I wouldn't be too impetuous around your love moves at this part of the month. Essentially, the restlessness that these guys create, particularly around your love life, may see you finding it very difficult to hold back from someone you really fancy. Also, with Mars in your sign by now, its square to Pluto is hugely powerful through the last 10 days of this month. Now, we started the month with the potential for that big, stubborn standoff because of the fixed nature of the full moon in Scorpio, the sun in your sign, and Pluto in Aquarius. But that fixed standoff is occurring again. It's a square this time, it's true. But what I'd say to you is that if Mercury, when it moved into Taurus on the 3rd, didn't help you to sort out and clarify, particularly an issue that was dear to your heart, and you're still feeling there's some kind of power battle going on, it could be accentuated as we move to the end of this month. But that does bring us to the Sagittarius blue moon on the last day of the month. Now, the whole lunar synodic cycle takes 29.5 days. If we add that up, the 12 of them, that actually is slightly more than the 365 days of a year. And it means that every around about 2.7 years, we get a blue moon. So two full moons in the same month. The first one on the 1st, the last one on the 31st. But the moon now is at 9 degrees in the sign of Gemini. It's got away from that rather restless vibe that occurred on that quarter moon. But the moon here in the sign of Sagittarius really doesn't like to be told what to do. It's very free spirited, very rebellious. You do have the path of fortune right at the top of your chart, which could be encouraging for your finances because, do you know, something around your finances may need a reset. But just be aware that Mars in your sign is in a quincunx with that moon. So, however you're feeling, and if things do seem incredibly intense as this month draws to a close, just know that Mars in your sign might be behind it. So, if we go through the whole month, Mars starts it in a subterranean area, but it could be raking up lots of old resentments and hurts. And that could come out, particularly around a relationship situation in the first 2 weeks. But we have seen that Mars also creates a lot of enthusiasm in that square with Jupiter. It's then getting seriously sexy as the month goes on with Venus. And you can see that although Mars and Venus by the end of the month are not in sextile, just a bit before this, they are. So it would be not a surprise at all if you did have some very powerful attractions this month, but in an ongoing relationship, particularly around intimacy, finance, long term planning, if you and a partner are finding things a bit tricky, just be aware that Mars in your zodiac sign can feed into this. So that could see you being much more frustrated, but unusually, perhaps a lot more outspoken. But you know, sometimes when things are out in the open, it is truly for the best. But I think that Mars Pluto square through the last 10 days of this month is one of the most powerful aspects of the whole year and definitely can bring some politics into the open that have been bubbling away out of sight. I'm going to summarize those 4 areas for you now, Taurus. I've slashed the price of my personal horoscope reports. It's now 3 for the price of 1. You pay for your life roadmap report, which helps us to understand the patterns that are played out so far, but get a more intimate understanding of them and work with those energies future forwards that much better. Free, you get your 12 months transit forecast and also your draconic soul karmic analysis. 3 for the price of 1. Please see below for more. Why? I've been full-time for 30 years, but my interest in astrology came through when I was 14. The first classical album I ever got was The Planets, which is about astrology, not astronomy. And ever since then, it's been a major part of my life. Natal astrology helps us to really navigate this particular journey that much better. By sharing the love about natal astrology, I hope to help others too. Please see below for more. If you've yet to watch your May monthly forecast, please see that on the screen. Yet to watch your Pluto retrograde 5-month forecast on the screen. If you'd like to work with me one-to-one, please see my testimonials below. And if you've yet to take advantage of my free daily written horoscope fired to your device each morning, please do so now. Get that early day celestial pit stop. And also, if you want to take advantage of my moon guide download, you can see that below too. So, in terms of your professional situation, with Pluto, the moon on that quarter moon, and also the part of fortune right at the end of the month, at the very top of your chart, I do think your connection to the world is a lot to do with what's going on at this particular time. You start the month wanting to be very individualistic and creative. But if that's not possible, that can show up a tension. If you're wanting to focus on what's really important to you, but it doesn't work for a partner, that can create tension in a romantic relationship early on. But with Mars and Venus forging a lovely sextile across 4 zodiac signs throughout this month, it doesn't mean to say that things are going to be quiet on that front either. However, I do feel that your financial situation comes sharply into focus when we get to the quarter moon on the 23rd and the blue moon on the 31st. But just know this is a month when I do feel your voice will need to be heard. And that, in terms of your energy, particularly when Mars moves into your sign on the 18th, following on from the roar of your new moon in your sign, your energy can be that much stronger in the last 2 weeks. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been a real pleasure and look forward to seeing you again soon.